It's grand finals time here at Celestial Assault, presented by the Gundam Evolution New Type League. We're down to just one more set to decide who our champion will be, who our first champion of the Pilot Academy, our first champion of the Breakout Series Season 2, the first champion of Gundam Evolution Season 2, the first champion of 2023 is. There are far too many things for me to list, but one last time, I am EGP Wonder Chef, joined by James Jamerson Lee, and we've got just it all come down to this.
Yeah, we had an excellent map number 3 finish in the lower bracket final, and I can only hope for a 5-map full set here in the grand finals.
I absolutely agree. This is going to be, like you just mentioned, our first time that we're going to have a 3 out of 5 set within this tournament. This is how it ran in the previous ones as well, and they've been some very entertaining sets. But the big stories of today are that we are having Team Mafty looking absolutely undefeatable throughout this entire bracket, regardless of what team they're playing, going up against Tekka Dynasty, that has been playing better and better as time has gone on, has defeated every single opponent other than Mafty, who they lost to very early, and now they've got all that extra experience under their belt. They've had, like you mentioned earlier, an entire day to do their research on how they want to adapt their match, and now they've earned their spot back into that top 2 spot, the best place that that team has ever had.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mafty in their last match, they're in the winners finals. There's not much to work with. They were so dominant in how they were able to take that win in that 2-0. Everyone on that roster was popping off in their own regard. So it's really hard to pinpoint who do we try to focus, or what's the weakness? Where do we try to put the resources into to try and pick apart this team? This is really a really tough ask at this point if you're trying to take down Team Mafty.
Yeah, one of the greatest strengths, in my opinion, of Team Mafty is that they are just so solid, and the fact that every single one of their members is just mechanically so strong. Like, they play together incredibly as a team. There seems to be no crack in their actual team cooperation, but if anybody was to 1v1 anybody on their team with the same suit, it would be a very hard ask for almost anybody, in the entire region to win against most of these players. We've got players, we just keep going back to them, but like Casino or like Focus, who have been on a lot of these MVP kind of moments, videos that we've been seeing during these breaks. And literally every single person on that team is of that exact same level. I don't want to act like we're just focusing on them, but they're just such good examples from seeing all these videos during the breaks. So it's not like you can just choose one thing and be like, we found their one little weakness. It's like you just have to consistently play better than them. It doesn't seem like they're going to let themselves get opened up in any sort of significant way.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if, on the other side for Tekka Dynasty, do they have an answer for almost like the counter dive strategy, right? Tekka Dynasty, even though they have been running the double brawler for a large portion of this tournament, now they have to kind of once again deal with the RX-78 that's been being picked up, I believe, by Arrow. And again, that Hyper Hammer, even though it's been nerfed, it's still a great tool to deal with the dive.
It's such a strong tool. If you can aim that thing well, which clearly, we've been able to see they actually can in many, many situations against a lot of these flankers, it can completely shut them down, right? That stun is enough for 1 to 2 headshots from the RX-78, which is just a huge chunk of damage. That is really actually a high damage shoot if you can land your shots. And that can just completely shut down the entire flank. It can put you at a 6v5 advantage, and all because you just tried to get even remotely close. But it has got the flexibility of that. It's got the flexibility of being able to shut down the shields, and it's just shown that it is absolutely worthy as a pick within this tournament so far, as clearly it hasn't even lost a single game.
Yeah, they have been absolutely dominant. And I was so surprised that in the winners finals, that they were able to take that win, the 2-0, in such a dominant fashion. We talk about it all the time, that it's not a complete tale of the story in a 2-0, but in that 2-0, it definitely was. It was just complete domination coming out from Mafty up against IQ. But like we said, Tekka Dynasty, they've had a day to try and deal with this. They've had, the time to actually look back at the tape. But before we get into that, we have to get into the map picks and bans.
Yeah, and as we're getting to map picks and bans, everybody do just note that there's a poll for your MVP, for your Satoris Tabletop Gaming MVP on the actual Twitch chat. So be sure to vote, because I know there's going to be a lot of strong opinions. We've had amazing play from so many different players. I feel like we've had more MVPs today than almost any other event that we've had so far. But as we get into these picks and bans, we do have to remember, again, just as a reminder, a very quick reminder, this is a 3 out of 5 set. So things are going to go slightly different with the picks and bans. We are going to have the chance to see potentially up to 5 maps, and we are going to start off by banning Quarry.
Yeah, Quarry was our most played map so far throughout this tournament, throughout Celestial Assault, but it's getting banned out along with Harbor City. So I feel like both teams really kind of want to avoid Quarry, because we've noticed that teams are having difficulty trying to really get that first plan and trying to get that first mega charge off. And so I agree with the Quarry pick. I feel like that's the huge hurdle that a lot of teams are facing off against. But now that leaves Colony Trading Post as our first.
Let's go! Grand Finals! I love these teams. They must have that for the fun factor. It has to be. It has to be. Nobody's come close to first picking it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, teams. That is going to make us very happy. The first time we're going to see it on broadcast here.
Yeah, so we got Quarry, the destruction map, getting banned out first, but Colony Trading Post, the other destruction map, being picked up. Now, Thermal Plant actually getting picked up by Tekka Dynasty is actually quite surprising here. But I feel like, they got some pretty good exercise, some pretty good warm-up in that last best of 3. They might know something that maybe they feel like they can really utilize the double brawler up against Arrow's RX-78. He might not be able to get the same kind of value up against that counter dive, because there's so many more angles for Nox and for Gasman to try and approach fights.
Oh, yeah, especially with the verticality. If you can approach to nearly point blank with vertical movement, then you're not going to have time to land the hyper hammer. It's just actually impossible. But I do like the fact that we are going to be seeing, we're going to be seeing Underground Command Center coming up next. I like the fact that we're going for some closer range maps. We've seen the strength of Tekka Dynasty to brawl, right? They're really, really strong at these close-up brawls. They've done their best, I think, so far on a lot of these domination maps. Underground Command Center, it has a huge kind of first area to it, but then it can be a pretty tight fight, and then we're going to move into Flag Fort.
Yeah, the decider will be Mountain R&D if it goes to map number 5. The big question is, will it even go past map number 3? Mafty has been so dominant throughout the last 2 days. We'll see if they can put an end to it at at Underground Command Center. But I love the pickups coming out from Team Mafty. They go for Colony Trading Post and for Underground Command Center. They don't want to go for the complete brawlies style. They want to play on a lot of these maps where you have fallback positions on the defense. I feel like their counter dive is so strong, really off the back of the play coming out from Arrow, but also David has been a standout Sazabi that he's really been able to go toe-to-toe with the rest of the Sazabis in our lobbies.
Yeah, Sazabi's in the lobbies. That's a good rhyme. But yeah, no, David, it really coming out as one of the MVPs for me, I think, of the team. But like I said, every single player on that team has basically had MVP moments very easily throughout, even just a few matches that we've seen from them. But we are, of course, going to be starting on Colony Trading Post, which I'm very excited for. I feel like I can't talk about that enough. We've been waiting this entire tournament, both days, for somebody to finally get there. It's been the decider match for a few different sets, but we've never gotten to that actual game 3. And they're going to be starting off here, and this is a map that, again, we saw it a lot in the official Gun Evo tournament, but I don't know how a lot of these teams are going to be playing on this map.
Yeah, and this one plays out so differently to Quarry, right? Because the waypoint isn't in the way towards Plant A and Plant B. On Quarry, you have to fight for that initial waypoint. You have to try and burn down the clock there. But because of the 2-lane nature of how the spawn works for the offense, they can basically just skirt around and get that waypoint for free. It's so hard to defend it, I feel like, because again, that run back over towards the plants is so long. So I don't know exactly how this is going to work out. I'm really excited to see how this one actually pans out.
Oh, me as well. But for anybody who's not as familiar with the map, it is a lot closer to Ministry of Defense, which was the map that we took out of the map pool for Colony Trading Post, where, just like Jamerson said, there are so many different paths that you can take to that first point that you don't need to get the waypoint. And if you commit too many people defending the waypoint, then people can just walk to the point and just take it for free. And then once that's done, it becomes a very close range underground map where you get a lot lot of these really close-up fights. You're going to have really strong strengths with a lot of the melee suits. I've seen, especially trying to get that second waypoint, we've seen a lot of Barbados do very well. But again, we'll see how these teams actually choose to play it. The biggest one for me, the biggest question for me, which we've already talked about, is how are these teams going to choose to defend the very first point? Will they commit any of their team to defending the waypoint? Will they just give it up and just decide to hold on point like we've seen a lot of people do in Ministry of Defense? Or will they decide to split up and then back up when they need to and just make sure there's no like sneaky caps on the waypoint? It's a big mystery, and I'm super pumped to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I expect for the initial defense to really want to try and prioritize the high ground plant site, because the rotation down is a lot easier than the rotation up. You leave yourself very vulnerable if you try to go from A to B instead of B to A. B to A is a much quicker rotation. So I kind of expect to see teams really playing off that high ground instead. But again, there are just so many angles that are cut off. The brawlers will be able to basically get in, and basically you won't know they're on top of you until contact is made, the way that this map is designed in the first half. So I feel like for Tekka Dynasty, even though this was a pickup, I believe this was the pick of Mafty, I think this kind of works in the favor of Tekka Dynasty.
It can, for sure. It's such a weird map though, that like a lot of things that I feel like maybe I assume about other maps might be slightly wrong. Like, you know, like you mentioned, I think holding the top site is going to be way more important on that first point, not only because the rotation is easier to get downwards, but there are a bunch of grates in the roof that look directly down onto the bottom bomb site there in the very first bomb site. And that means that if you're sitting there trying to plant, you have to guess like, am I gonna have to look up here, or am I gonna have to look up here, or am I have to look back beyond the bomb, or am I have to look behind me? Like, there's just so many different angles that can be held there. And I know that if you do plant there as the offense, you oftentimes just take the defensive hold on top on the roof as well, just because they have to push all the way to the roof to try to take you out. And by the time they're done doing that, they have to go back down, and then it just becomes an even more of a time waster. So the first point on here can be very, very hard to attack if you don't get that full team wipe, especially if they're holding that top zone.
Yeah. So now the big question is, are we going to see Arrow still on the RX-78? I mean, I understand that, you know, the pickup for it is great in the Suzabi fights. Of course, it is fantastic with the Hyper Hammer, also with the value that you get if you get the double dive coming out. But, you know, for Tekka Dynasty, they don't have to commit into that. I mean, we're seeing, of course, for Tekka Dynasty, that they are its squad, and a lot of their players have a lot of depth in their pool. I mean, we've seen Nox, like you've mentioned before, play so many different units, like Gasman as well. We've seen him pick up the turn A's. And so it's not just a one-note team. So Tekka Dynasty can approach this in multiple ways.
Yeah, as far as the RX-78, you know, we were talking earlier about the flexibility of that G maneuver, and the especially the first bomb site here, it's one of those sites where you can actually completely cover both bomb sites with one single explosion from that G maneuver by just placing it on the opposite one than the enemy, right? So if they're planting above, you can place it below. If they're planting below, you can place it above, and they're not going to have that clear line of sight to it, and it actually just completely covers that, stops all the disarm, stops the planting if you know you're the one defending. So I really do like that G maneuver for this map a lot. Also, once you get inside, there are a lot of angles that you can throw it that are very, very hard to deal with, especially with the closing doors. You know, sometimes you can like throw it down at the ground, the floor comes up and it protects you, you know, the wall, I guess I should say, or you can throw it above because there is the other bomb site, again, very, very close, like within that little like carrier ship. So I just like the uses of that G maneuver on this map. And I also feel like there are a lot of kind of mid-range angles where the exact range that you want for RX-78 is going to be great, but we'll see. We've seen some switches from both of these teams. It looks like it's time to get into this grand finals match here between Team Mafty and Team Tekka Dynasty.
And it's going to be a best of 5. Can Mafty do it in 3, or will Tekka Dynasty send him to the limit? We'll see. And I love that we're starting things off here on Colony Trading Post. Again, I love this map so much. Once it was announced, like I was so happy to actually be able to play inside of a side, inside of a colony. It looks so good. You can even see in the horizon, get the turn up of the horizon. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, oh, it's such a beautiful map. The way that it all just completely curves. You almost feel like people could be shooting at you from above. Like it's almost like a 3D map. It's so sick. But here we go. We are going to see the team comps. We're going to see the gun tank coming out of Team Mafty. There's no way they trolled. No, they got me. They got me there.
I wish, but yeah, it looks like they are going to go for that waypoint. The defensive hold is not quite there. It looks like all they left was quite possibly a turret out from the Metis player, but it is going to be the free waypoint for them. The high ground being held by Arrow, and it looks like, oh boy, this is a surprising pick coming out from them. Enders is here on the high ground with the rest of the squad.
Yeah, the new Gundam, that is super surprising, but nice, great pick there. We are going to see, again, just so much Barbados play throughout the day, but that's already paying off extremely well. Ender's just holding that high ground, trying to pick the robot out of the air, but the entire team is rushing around. Arrow going down, Ender's going down. This is already going to be a plant on the high point here on A.
Oh, Gasman narrowly misses out on that knife, but it looks like the offense will be able to hold quite well. You can see, once again, on that high ground, Infestor has to be careful trying to take the 1v1 up against David, but he does back away. Arrow now swapping on over towards that Zaku 2 range. I don't know if he's going to be able to find an opening here, especially on this first point. As you can see now, they are fighting for a nice little axe to knock them back, but they're going to go ahead and charge forward for Team Mafty. Go for the retake.
And here's the full push. This is their one opportunity here. It's so hard to push this actual spot, but they're moving in almost uncontested. We saw a lot of the team of Tekka Dynasty look down, and we're going to see Azor go down at the very minimum, but Nox is going to be flying around this point, getting picked off very, very quickly. This might actually be the opportunity here for Mafty to get that disarm. They've got just a few more players to pick off here. It looks like we're going to see the flank from the Dom, but it's not going to be enough. Hawklight going down, and this should be a disarm just barely in time.
Really nice progress, though, at the very least. 83.5%. They've got the regroup as well. No one was able to get over towards that waypoint because they had to commit all their resources here. I love that Mafty were able to slowly pick apart that fight, get the picks, get 4 down before they start going for that defuse. But with Gasman going down, they need to wait for the full 6. We'll see if they can try and find a flank angle. But for the hold for Mafty, they've got the Ashamar punch coming up and nothing to answer it on the side of Tekka Dynasty.
Yeah, and Dark Infestor already getting chunked really hard. It's gonna have that healing, but really they're split up right here. And this is, oh wait, was this gonna be an air attack? Oh, I mean, hey, you have perfect accuracy in the air as XCS, so you can use it a little bit as an aerial unit, but didn't quite get that dash attack that it wanted to. And now once again, Nox all the way in the background, but we're actually gonna see a little bit of a split up from Mafty as Arrow is going to manage to make it past this team.
Ooh, Gasman gets up just in time to take out Devotion, but that's going to be a 1-for-1 exchange. Nox dropped down low. Beautiful answer coming out from Mafty. Again, they don't even utilize any of their G maneuvers for this hold. They have the punch, they have the Screaming Nimbus, along with the Hades available for them. On the opposite side, for Tekka Dynasty on their next push, they can try to go forward with that Screaming Nimbus energy cable if they want to. That's actually been a quite potent composition combo that has been used quite heavily, but it looks like the Trans Am might be popped now as they're going to go. Nox tries to get that plant, but no, Gasman does not run interference. Enders will be able to put a stop to that one.
Yeah, that was a huge commitment from Nox, and it's also going to stagger them even more than they already were. There's only 1 minute left on the clock. They are going to have the relay, so there's 2 different angles they can potentially attack from. You can see Ender's actually just checking both of them from the same spot, but it looks like we're going to see a lot of Team Tekka come in from the relay side, or actually maybe they're rotating around, or they can just come from the sky. That works as well.
Oh boy, Nox is trying to go in with that Trans Am. Hasn't found anything quite yet as he will get taken out. Nice little peel there for Enders to keep him up on that Pale Rider, as we do have the Screaming Nimbus coming out. 35 seconds remaining here, but they're not finding a clean fight. Hawklight is the only one up. Gasman has to back away off of this one, and now Tekka Dynasty only have 20 seconds to work with to try and get back onto the point.
Yeah, and the relay retaken just makes that so much harder. Azor is going to have an opportunity here to kind of at least get in, but immediately getting melted in the mirror. The axe not fully connected to get rid of that shield, and we need somebody to get on point right now. But David holding this forward position says, you cannot get past me. You cannot even attempt this, and that looks like that's going to be round 1 with a nearly full hold on the side of Team Mafty. There was a few percentage, you know, pretty good amount of percentage. So if this is a complete full hold from Tekka Dynasty, it's totally doable. See 83% on that first point, but still a hold at point A.
Does Tekka Dynasty want to do anything different when it comes to their defense here? I mean, you can still try to run the double brawler, but I think Arrow now with that Zaku 2 range is doing a great job of just keeping them in check, right? Having that mobility to answer for Nox trying to go into the back line, try to, or at least try to pull them off over towards point A hasn't been working for them. And I feel like it's coming down to, well, just the overall map presence coming out from Mafty, but also Arrow's presence with that Zaku 2 ranged.
Yeah, the Zaku 2 range, it's a pick that, I was pretty much gushing about before, but I absolutely love that Zaku 2 ranged. It's also very good, I think, against the double melee, right? We've seen that it can melt melee before the melee even gets to the Zaku. So I don't know what they would... I mean, we could see a turn A. Turn A is amazing on this map. This is such a good turn A map. The butterfly is extremely powerful, and we actually haven't seen like a single turn A today, I think, which is bizarre because we saw it in so many games last tournament and a ton of them yesterday in general, but nobody's going for it in the top 3.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the overall map picks, right? Harbor City, we're definitely going to see some turn A. If we go over to Flag Fort, we're going to see turn A because of how strong it is for breaking those choke points. Right now, I think for the exploration here, teams are still kind of getting used to this map. Right now, though, let's take a look at the offensive setup coming out from Mafty. Arrow is going to stick with that. Nope. Yeah, he's going to stick with that Zaku 2 range. And so he's going to be able to try and answer that mobility of Nox and Gasman once again.
Yeah, and this is going to be, of course, just a suit that can zip around and challenge a lot of different angles that you're not going to be able to expect. It looks like we're going to see a really heavy push towards the relay. No real heavy defense on the side of Tekka Dynasty, just deciding to just hold on to the point. I think that's going to be a common thing that we see for this map in particular. Same thing with Ministry of Defense, but here we go. We've already got this back angle that's being held defensively very well by Tekka D so far.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate that Zaku 2 range doesn't have verticality. There you can see, though, he is at least pulling some attention away, and he gets the initial pick. Gasman going down. It's a 6v5 now in favor of Mafty. You can see them still taking their time, picking apart this squad as they find one more. That's going to be the Suzabi going down. Now it's the back line with that Ashimar. They are trading a little bit. Finally, Arrow does fall, but Dark Infestor is extremely low, doesn't have the heal enough to get himself back on up, and it's going to be Mafty now with full control.
Yeah, they are going to plant. Let's see where they decide to try and plant. I mean, they're going to at least get an opportunity, and it looks like there's still a few of them sitting up here, not actually planting. Maybe they're waiting for more people to get here, but there we go. It's going to be on B, and like I mentioned, you see those grates that we're standing on top of right now? Those are all perfect sight lines all the way down to the bomb. We're going to have a lot of really high damage units up there. The Unicorn's up there. Enders, most importantly, up there, is not going to allow people to just easily disarm that bomb. They're going to have to push them up on top.
Importantly, focus is coming up on that punch as well. So all he really needs to do is drop down, punch to try and stop any kind of diffuse, and he just needs to wait to see that actually happening. Nox trying to get into the back line, though, once again, getting into that duel up against Arrow, but the mobility allows him to get out. He is extremely low, though, but he gets topped off with a small health pack here. He needs a little bit more, though, but Nox is putting the focus on Suzabi, but throughout all that, Enders ends up getting the 1-for-1 exchange. 5 seconds, someone needs to touch, but they are not there in time. Finally, trying to go for that defuse, but they get interrupted. Arrow will put a stop to that one. It's going to be Mafty striking first blood on our first map, our first time seeing Colony Trading Post.
Yeah, we honestly barely got to see any of the map. That was such a strong set so far from Mafty. I mean, just game 1 out of 5 potentially. One of their 3 that they need to win, but they just held on so well. I mean, that first plant was really, really strong on the side of Tekka Dynasty, but the fact that, once again, this is something we've seen from Team Mafty time and time again so far in this tournament, is that people, even if they get an opportunity on the offense, like, for example, even on Quarry, when we see the very first, or I'm sorry, on Mountain R&D Lab, not Quarry, where they get the first plant, or oh my, Underground Command Center. There's too many maps that we've seen them on. They get the first plant, they take it back, even when it looks like it's impossible to. Even when the team that's attacking gets this really strong defensive hold on the mega charge, they manage to find a way, and that's something that they've just continued to do. And I mean, 86% is great. Usually that's the kind of progress that you want, even if you don't end up getting the actual explosion of the mega charge. But the offense was also just even more solid from the side of Mafty to just barely break past that point.
Yeah, and it looked like, they were very methodical in how they wanted to approach this, right? They had won out that team fight really with what, maybe 20 seconds before they actually got the mega plant down. So it looks like they were deciding, hey, do we want to go for A or do we want to go for B? Making that ultimate decision to go for A was so strong. I love it because it gives a lot more space for Arrow to work with, right? We saw that how without that verticality, he wasn't able to kind of have the same presence, but just overall being there with that Zaku 2 range and then being basically enabled by being able to play around that objective, Arrow got a lot more value.
Yeah, that can be such a strong suit defensively on that particular spot because you can just hide behind corners, you can hide behind walls, and the moment that somebody comes over and starts disarming, you can just pop out and just melt them with, like I mentioned, I think the highest DPS suit in the entire game as far as just going for primary fires, except for, I guess, Gym Sniper. And then you just melt them, and then you use your invincibility, and you walk away, and the next person that tries, it's like you have to fully hunt down the Zaku 2 range, and fully hunting down a Zaku 2 range is so difficult. It is such a slippery suit, and overall it was just a pick that worked out really well. The new Gundam, we saw it for one single life, didn't work out as well as maybe it was supposed to, but I'm glad that at least we saw new Gundam on Colony Trading Post, right? Even if it was just a little bit of both.
yeah, it's just double dipping there into all the new content for us at this point. But yeah, that is Mafty taking map number 1, and I believe we're going to thermal plant, or yeah, thermal plant for map number 2, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it was Thermal Planet Mount R&D in my mind, so I just remembered it was a domination map, but I think you're right that it was Thermal Planet. I know that we're going to Underground Command Center for number 3, but they had picked a lot of maps, so we'll try to get confirmation on that. But regardless, I mean, the fact that we're going to a domination is going to be very, very different. That's a game type that I think we've seen Tekka Dynasty do extremely well on, that has really excelled in those kind of close range fights, a lot because they are so infamous now for having that double brawler type of team and not always having an Ashmar, for example. So I think when they get to these maps, either of these maps, they are going to be able to really pull off some really cool stuff.
Yeah, but going into Thermal Plant now, with the trump card being shown with Arrow on that Zaku 2 range, we got to see Profi actually put it to good use as well on that specific map. So now the threat is once again in the mind of Tekka Dynasty. How are we going to deal with Arrow on this Zaku 2 range, who was getting immense value? Well, on a map that I guess we might not be as familiar with, but still going over to Thermal Plant, it wasn't the cleanest of matches that Tekka Dynasty had on that one. So first surprised that they ended up picking that one up, but also now with Arrow picking up that Zaku 2 range really throws a wrench in the works.
Yeah, so is Arrow just like a huge fan of like original Gundam? I think like Arrow needs to pick up Sazabi, and then you kind of get the like perfect trifecta of like Char's and Amuro Ray's like suits, and it's such an interesting set of suits to play, right? We've seen the RX-78, we've seen the Zaku 2 ranged, we've seen now the new Gundams just for a moment, but it is an interesting set of suits to be able to play. I wonder if Arrow actually is just like a fan of some of like the OG Gundam stuff, but it's really cool to have that level of like multiple suits that we don't see all that often, as opposed to, you know, just like seeing like, okay, yeah, like Nox plays a lot of meta suits, which obviously is really strong, but it's cool to see like multiple niche options from one person.
Yeah, having like alternate Sentry or universal Sentry, right? The face off there. But I'm glad that, having the RX-78, having a new Gundam, having Zaku 2 ranged all in play. I mean, we were talking about and really celebrating how the meta has been kind of in flux, and it's not just one set in stone kind of composition that we saw like in the past, or one unit that's like just absolutely dominating. We're seeing so many different roles, so many different suits being able to find their time in the light, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So far, the only suit that we've seen a 100% pick rate is Dom. And the way that Dom wins is not like, oh yeah, Dom is just running the entire match. It's just so good at doing everything and supporting the team in key moments. So that just seems to be super cool to me. And the fact that we've been seeing a lot of wins even without Ashimar, which is, I would say, probably the second highest pick rate. We have seen now, especially from Tekka Dynasty, so many wins without it. We've seen, just this level of flexibility. We've seen almost every suit in the game right now. I'm trying to think, we haven't seen Mihiru, which is unfortunate because Mihiru actually can be pretty scary right now. What other suits have we not seen at all? Because I feel like we've seen pretty much all of them. Guntank.
Marasai and Guntank.
That's weird that we haven't seen Marasai, okay? I get no Mihiru, I get no Guntank, but Marasai is strong, and I think that actually Gasman plays Marasai as well, so that's a surprise to me. I still think that suit's really strong.
Yeah, and Jim, I believe, is the other one that
Oh
we
yeah.
haven't seen so far as well. But I mean, in the face of a Sazabi, I don't know if you really want to try and play that kind of off tank into it. But maybe Arrow ends up picking it up for us.
Yeah, that's actually true too. We've got a lot of options for Arrow. Arrow, you have to show us all of the like OG suits that we don't see from anybody else. But no, I'm really glad that we're seeing the Zaku 2 ranged. It is putting in a lot of work, and it's going to continue to put in a lot of work, I think, on pretty much most of the other maps that we're going to see, unless this goes to be a really long set, which it very much could be. That wasn't the like a complete stomp. It wasn't a complete stomp at all. The fact that there was an 85% on that first point is like pretty close, especially on a newer map like that. So we could go a little bit longer within this set. Again, of course, it's going to be 3 out of 5. But I feel like the Zaku 2 melee is actually going to be a really solid choice for most of them. So will the RX-78 though. Really good on especially Thermal Plant.
Yeah. Again, like you said, just being able to cover the entire point, whichever one you're fighting at, A, B, or C, with that super napalm, but also having that peel ability with the hyper hammer up against the face of double brawler that it looks like Tekka Dynasty still want to try and run with. We'll see if maybe they make a swap themselves. Again, Nox has proven that he does have a deep mobile suit pool, and so he can make the change if they want to, but they have found a lot of success with it. So I don't really see them swapping off on it, especially on Thermal Plant. Like we said, double brawler, extremely strong. We got to see how good it is, being that consistent threat. Gasman being enabled by Nox, Nox enabling, or Gasman enabling Nox as well in that regard. So it's kind of like a feedback loop in that regard when it comes to those two units.
Yeah, it is. But the coordination between them has been really cool. So I'm really enjoying that they've actually been sticking a lot more with just their kind of core to melee throughout the end of this bracket a little bit more. And it's good to see. We'll see if they end up doing it here. We are here on Thermal Plan. We are going to see the double melee pick. And on the side of Arrow, which is a little bit more of the question, we are going to see, oh wait, no Arrow. Was there a switch out?
Profi coming in
yeah.
For Arrow here, but that means we still get to see our Zaku 2 ranged regardless, and so that's going to be their answer against the double brawler that Nox and Gasman, the Bash brothers, coming in for Tekka Dynasty. It's going to be point C unlocking first. You can see now the volley's coming out. The first knock, Nox is going down. Casino has been such a monster across multiple tournaments now on that Dom.
Oh yeah, you gotta love watching Casino, but here we go. This is a huge brawl. We've got 3 suits down on both sides now. One of them's coming back up for the side of Mafty, but this has just been absolutely trade and trade. Even Casino and Dark Infestor actually literally trading 1 for 1 at the exact same time. Casino getting picked back up though, that is going to be huge. David here is going to be able to help push through this little choke point. We've got 4 members up now from Mafty, going to be able to continue to hold on to the C points pretty solidly.
Yeah, it's going to be a rotate over to point B as well. That's our next spot, but this is an awkward transition, right? Going from C to B is a much different case than you would go from A to B. And so we'll see if Tekka Dynasty want to just kind of set up for that early on. Gasman in a weird backline fight there. Actually, neither wants any part of that one. A robot on the bottom actually is able to flip the point, and somehow Mafty actually gets off the point and gives that one up for free. So free value camp coming in for Tekka Dynasty, but you can see now with the re-engage, Asor will go down. Dark Infestor does have that heal pack to keep himself topped off. Gasman finally finds a kill there on to Casino, taking him out, but it's answered 1 for 1. And it looks like for Mafty, they're just going to go for that rotate. They're going to go ahead and get this high ground for Enders, who has been such a dominant force on the Pale Rider.
Yeah, same thing with Focus as well on the Ashmar, and they are just already in the perfect position. Those are probably the suits, along with probably the Casino Dom, that you're going to really want to be on the high ground the most, and we are going to see it pretty immediately. But Nox all the way in the back line, we can see Focus and Profi both getting some takedowns here. Robot and Gasman both going down, but they're just not going to have enough players here, I think, to challenge this high ground. Casino is eventually going to go down. That might be their opportunity to make a push, but Asor as well getting taken down in the mirror by David, with Profi holding that front door. And it's like I said, I love seeing these tight angles being held by the Zaku 2 ranged.
Yeah, he's got that heat axe ready to use if they try to push through it, but he's not even going to need that for now. There we go. The axe finally comes in. He finds one onto a robot, and that's Gundam Unicorn going down. Focus is still here on the high ground, though, looking to test as the fight goes kind of almost maybe in the favor of Tekka Dynasty. They do end up losing out on the trade ultimately there. Gasman not able to find enough for his squad. We're going to be going over to point A for our next spot.
Yeah, they just immediately have to go over. There's not enough time for them to get any sort of significant advantage here, and it does look like we're going to see most of the entire team of Tekka Dynasty already at A in a good position, but A doesn't have a significant high ground, right? Even if you're getting in position, you're mostly in position on your own sides. This is not as much of an advantage as going to B or C early, and here we go. The Hades immediately getting popped by Enders. Super aggressive, melting about half of the HP of multiple of their suits. That is going to be Astor going down, and in the back, the G maneuver from Devotion from that ultimate, or sorry, that unicorn is going to be so much damage, just catching so many of the members running away from that Ender's Hades and just melting them.
How often do you see that? A Pale Rider frontline engaging the fights. Typically, you know, it's like, oh, you're still going to sit in the back line, but no, he is there in the front. A robot does end up taking out David, though, and now Dark Infestor wants to try and counter-engage. We do have the Hades being popped here, but the smoke screen keeps Profi alive, but not for long throughout that Hades. Dark Infestor getting a lot of value off of this one. 90%, though, picked up by Mafty, and so we will be going over to point C.
Ooh, yeah, and a robot getting picked back up. We're going over to point C, but there's still 30 seconds left. I think there is a somewhat of a chance that we could see a repush on the side of Mafty here. It does look like they're going to be going for at least one more small push onto this zone, get a little bit more percentage. I mean, hey, with what they've got, actually, if they took this fast enough, they could have potentially won on A as the other team rotated away, just because they have 90%. But we're going to trade 1-4. Nox is going to go down. Nox is going to come back up, actually, and we're going to see actually most of the KOs coming out of the side of Tekka Dynasty as it switches over to point C.
Yeah, I think for Mafty there, they were just trying to bait out some G maneuvers, right? Because they had to go in completely dry. They were trying to maybe bait out something, but for Tekka Dynasty, it was really good discipline coming out from them. Not a single one pop, and so they will have the funnels. They will have the Unicorn ultimate, which is extremely strong here, along with the Trans Am. They're going to pop the funnels. They're going to pop all three, actually, to try and take this fight, and so the desperation, you can smell it there for Tekka Dynasty. They end up cleaning up basically a clean fight. Nox does end up going down, but he'll be able to get back into the thick of things extremely fast, especially with the pickup from Hawklight. So point C unlocks, and that's going to be Tekka Dynasty taking it. Mafty, though, now will have the power advantage. They've got the axe. They've got the David coming back as well. 82% now towards the funnels, but Casino, he can open things up with the Screaming Nimbus.
Yeah, this might all come down to Casino here. I mean, the axe is going to be a little bit, but here we go. The Screaming Nimbus popped on the side of Casino. How many knocks can we get? Profi actually taking out 2 players, probably with the damage of that Screaming Nimbus. 3 players. David also picking up Gasman. That is going to be the majority of team Tekka Dynasty going down. Nox is going to avoid that for a little bit, but you need to be there to step on point, and that is probably going to be the round here for team Mafty. The coordination between Casino and Profi there was incredible.
And again, we have to reiterate the value that you get off of a Screaming Nimbus. That was almost what, 2 G maneuvers for the 3 on the side of Tekka Dynasty, but all you really needed was that Screaming Nimbus. It does so much, right? You're not able to really play off the position that you want to as that Gundam Unicorn. Even though you pop it, you're not getting that same value. You're forced away from a lot of the choke points that you really want to try and spam those shots down from. And so it looked like it was just absolutely shut down.
Yeah, that was the perfect timing to have up those G maneuvers. And I think that game in particular, well played by both teams for sure. That was a close one, but I think that really all came down to your resource management. As far as your G maneuver management, there were a lot of fights where a lot of G maneuvers were popped and maybe not all of them needed to be popped. And maybe that was on both sides, right? But it all came down to the fact that just the specific ones were up at a specific time for that final point.
And did you look at the damage charts there? I believe 5 out of the 6 members of Mafty actually over 10k damage, while on the Tekka Dynasty squad side, it was only 2 out of the 6. So we're seeing that Mafty, again, just great contribution across the board from almost every single member of that team. As we get into the second round, we are going to be starting off once again here on point C. Profi looking for that backline flank, but he has been spotted out early on. But again, the mobility of the Zaku 2 ranged is unmatched. Casino gets that first knock, and that's the disruption. Dark Infestor try to deal with it, but Nox is trying to find Profi in the backline, smokescreen to get out. Gasman ends up chasing him down to take him out.
But it does seem like Focus manages to get away just barely at 1 HP from like 3 people chasing him. Oh no, Nox not able to quite get up and then misses the E-dash. That's really unfortunate. Nox getting trapped a little bit below that bridge. Maybe not able to help out in that fight quite as much as they want. Focus is going to take the very high ground above the door, but get focused out because you have 0 cover up there. So what can you do? But this is first going to go to Tekka Dynasty, and they are probably going to get the hold here for at least a little bit. Devotion going down. Probably is going to be here, but not going to be enough people, I think, to push for the retake. They're probably going to just move over to point B.
Yeah, Hawklight gets that pickup onto a sword, bringing him back into things with 15 seconds remaining. You really don't want to push into a team that is holed up there. You can see the setup coming out from the Dom players as well. And so you can easily end up losing out on an entire unit because they have a triple stack. And with this early rotate out, Enders ends up picking up Dark Infestor. Now, there's still plenty of time for him to regroup with this squad. You can see 30 seconds before the point unlocks here on point B.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of the side of Tekka Dynasty is trying to push through this ramp again, but that is such a choke point, especially against a team that has a lot of AoE damage like Team Mafty. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the route they want to go. We've seen that before. It did not go super well. They are going to be pushing several different angles, and oh, that's a nice little bit of a chunk from Dark Infestor. That might be their cue to go in, and they are going to be now pushing this entire high ground. We see the G maneuver activated from Devotion. Let's see if we can get some chunks from this old Unicorn G maneuver.
Oh boy, they end up picking up 3 with Hawklight only on the side of Tekka Dynasty going for that trade. Beautiful, beautiful fight coming out from Mafty here. And we'll go ahead and get that point as soon as it unlocks. Profi tries to go straight into spawn to disrupt them, but that's all he's doing, playing disruption. He is so close to that Heat Hawk axe once again. We saw him playing super close to the door last time he had it here on the point, and that's what he can do once again. Maybe see him actually wrap around. You can see, yeah, now he is putting the focus on the side lanes, which is where Tekka Dynasty is trying to approach from.
Yeah, this is starting to be a really close match. I'm really liking this. I think the overall approaches have changed pretty considerably. These teams are starting to feel each other out a little bit more. Gasman getting melted a little bit by Profi. Yeah, you just cannot chase Zakutu range. It's like impossible. I mean, you can chase for a while, but you're not going to win that fight. And so that's just a weird fight, completely on a different angle than the rest of that. They're in point A. What was that?
It's going to be a Sazabi for a Sazabi exchange, but you can see focus without having to contend with another Ashmar. He has complete aerial supremacy for his squad, and so he's going to be able to pick up 2. And I love how Mafty has basically kind of divided up these fights, right? Profi, he doesn't have to be the complete backliner. As long as he has at least one of the brawlers attention, that allows them to basically not be able to enable each other, right? We were talking about how Nox and Gasman work well together, hand in hand. That coordination is fantastic. With Profi, he takes one of those out of the equation, but here goes a robot now. Screaming Nimbus is going to get popped. The robot is not getting the value quite yet. Nox in the back line, though, does find one at the very least, but it's Casino with the Screaming Nimbus coming in with the backup of Profi as well. Points he unlocks. It is Tekka Dynasty, though, that have control over it.
Yeah, just for a moment, though, the retake is quick. I think there was just Dark Infestor on the bottom side that managed to let them get that little bit of a first take. However, that did end up in the form of a stagger, which is unfortunate. And yeah, that Casino G maneuver, as usual, the Screaming Nimbus on reaction to the popping of another G maneuver. They hear that sound, and Casino's like, okay, it's time. And it just goes so well. Completely wasted the Unicorn G maneuver. We're seeing already Tekka moving into position for point A, but once again, you can't get that dominant of a position just by moving in.
It's cross map. The rotations are coming out. Gasman looking for that flank, but it's Casino finding the first knock onto Nox. Doesn't look like the sword actually connects there for Gasman, but he ends up taking out Enders, and that's going to be 3 more coming in. Casino, though, a one-man army on the Dom. He does not heal enough off that pack. Gasman will finish him off. For Tekka, they ended up, utilizing, I think, 3 G maneuvers in that fight, but luckily for them, they'll have Hawklight, who has that Screaming Nimbus, along with the funnels coming in for his sword. So 2 beautiful G maneuvers to utilize to try and hold this one down. Point A will unlock, and that's Tekka taking it.
Yeah, and we know that Enders has his G maneuver. Same thing with Devotion. Oh, and actually, they're going to see them all pop at the same time. Hawklight's a little bit too low to use the Screaming Nimbus. Might just get picked off. Decides maybe to save it for a different moment. That's probably a smart choice, but that is going to be a huge majority of Team Tekka Dynasty going down right here, especially with the addition of that Flame Grenade coming out of focus. That is going to be a complete retake. There's only 5 seconds left, or 5% left. I don't know if anybody can get back in time. The Screaming Nimbus might go completely unused, and it looks looks like nobody will be back in time. Maybe that wasn't a smart choice. There maybe have been the assumption that somebody could make it back, whether it be Nox, whether it be just any other high mobility options, you know, could have been Gasman, but in the end, seeing them go down completely with an unused Screaming Nimbus is for sure painful.
You pointed it out. He was so low. Despite the armor that you get, it doesn't mean you're invulnerable. You can still get taken out. That armor only goes so far. And so it was really unfortunate that he was down to maybe, what, 200 HP overall there. You pop it, you get another maybe 600. It's just not enough to really get the full value off that Screaming Nimbus. So really unfortunate that they weren't able to utilize that. But we did get to at least see some fight coming in for Tekka Dynasty, but that does mean that we are at a 2-0. Now we have Mafty sitting on match point.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking better as time goes on, which again is really the story of Team Tekka Dynasty in general. It's looking better and better for them as time goes on. They're still playing their really interesting strategy. I love that we got to see the POV of Nox for a while, who was just not in the team fight. Like, Nox was just sitting behind a wall waiting for a moment, and it worked out. You know, it did end up working out. They did manage to get that point, so they are playing their consistent style. They're probably not going to be switching all that much, especially considering the fact that next we're going to be moving to Underground Command Center, where I think, just aside from maybe the very first point of this, you know, just capturing the relay, I should say, not even the first point, you get some longer range battles, but aside from that, I feel like they can go double melee for most of this map, and I think they're just going to stick with it. I think that having Nox on the Ashmar could be a benefit for a lot of the points here, but so can we've actually seen him win a match here on the second set of bombs by going Exia, sneaking over the map, and that's the reason why they're even still here. So I think we're probably just going to see them all stick with most of the same suits for the rest of this set in general.
Yeah. Now the big question, though, because it is Underground Command Center, though, will we quite possibly be seeing that Jim Sniper pickup coming out from either side? We saw Nox play it. I don't know if we actually got to see Mafty pick that one up. You have to imagine, of course, with how deep their pool seems to be, with Profi, with Arrow, being able to swap in and out, they might be able to pick that one up. And so I don't know if you're going to want to run Double Bruiser into that, especially on the open sight lines, basically, of that first waypoint.
Yeah, well, we did see Enders go the Gym Sniper in, I think it was on Harbor City at the very minimum. I think we might have seen 2 maps where Enders went Gym Sniper. The problem is Mafty has won so many of their matches so fast that it's hard to remember who chose what. But I know for sure that Enders, again, is incredibly strong. I think I said like a great left clicker, which again, I say that as a compliment for sure. One of the great ones that we've seen today. We've seen a lot of really strong Gym Sniper players. So the option's definitely there, but also, I mean, Ender's Pale Rider is so good too, and we've seen Pale Rider be completely a fine choice to kind of play that role even on this first push towards the relay, towards the waypoint on Underground Command Center. So it really could go any direction. I do really like, though, the Gym Sniper for the first portion of the attack on this level. You know, just you can get that pick. We actually did see, it might have been Amaro who got the first pick with the Gym Sniper and then just literally ran back into base, switched off, went back to Pale Rider, and then move forward again, which I think works really, really well on this particular map. So we'll end up seeing what they pick, but yeah, double melee actually here on defense could be a little bit scary, or on offense for this first little push.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about having the double brawler, especially in the Exia Barbados, is that they can consistently contest for that high ground if they want to. Make sure that a Gym Sniper, if they want to try and hold that position, well, it's not going to be free for them. They have to be under consistent threat. But Enders has been so aware. There was a moment in that matchup when we were on point B, I believe. He preempted a dive and threw out that EMP grenade before the dive even happened. And I believe it was Gasman coming in with that knife. As soon as that knife hit the ground, I believe the nade was already out of his hand. Enders ends up, Gasman ends up showing up on screen and then going for the dive, and it lands right on him. It was the prediction was so great coming out from him. So Enders is like easily becoming one of my MVPs for this match. Initially, before this match started, I wanted to say it was going to be Casino, but Enders has been doing such a fantastic job.
Yeah, this team is just not fair. Like choosing an MVP for this team, I'm telling you, just not fair. Like we've seen amazing moments from Casino, we've seen amazing moments from Enders, we've seen amazing moments from David, we've seen amazing moments from Focus. We've seen I'm just literally naming their entire team. Like we've just seen every single person on their team. I mean, Profi, Arrow. Now they've got 7 people that we've seen MVP moments from. That's not fair. You at least stick to 6 if you're going to make it this difficult. But yeah, we just completely a solid all around team, and that's what we've seen from a lot of the previous champions in these previous events, you know, whether it be Halloween Havoc, or which I believe was Bozos, or whether it be Gundam's Grace, where we saw the Team Seki Vacuums win. A lot of the key points of these teams is that they don't have any sort of big weakness, right? There's nothing that you can take advantage of with these teams. They're just all so solid. Every single player is an MVP, and they coordinate like they're all MVPs. So you just can't find a crack in that armor, and that's what we've seen so far in this set. Although Tekka Dynasty is getting closer and closer, I feel like if this set was like a 7-game set or a 9-game set, which of course would be unbelievably long and ridiculous, that if that happened, Tekka Dynasty would just have a better and better chance of taking the entire thing as the time goes on. But they don't have that much time is the problem. They've now only got 1 game, well, 0 games of leeway, right? They have to win every single game from here on out.
Yeah, they need a reverse sweep. That's the only way here in this best of 5. But we are going over to a Mafty map pick, and you know, like the way the first map went, it was pretty dominant in the favor of Mafty as well. When we have a different objective, but now it's so difficult, right, for them because like you said, it feels like they're getting closer and closer. They're getting closer to that eureka moment to figure out how to break the Mafty defensive line. But I don't know if you really can at this point. Mafty have been doing such a fantastic job. Like we said, every single player has had their moment, but it just seems like it's the cohesion as overall. It's not just the individual plays, the overall team cohesion. They are one of the best teams at bending when it comes to a defensive hold and being able to give enough space to basically entrap the teams that are trying to make a push onto them. We'll see, though, as we go on for this next map. Will they be able to end it in 3, or will we go to a map number 4?
Yeah, and it's very important to remember too that this is, this is the first event of the not only the Breakout Series 2023 season, but the first event of the Pilot Academy. So despite the fact that, of course, everybody's trying to win right here, this is just a great time for these teams to learn. Of course, you want to be the champion, and we're going to see Team Mafty push for that as we're going to enter Game 3 of this grand final set as they're pushing to take it 3-0. But like I was saying, these teams, even if they don't win this entire tournament, what they gain out of it, aside from these points, is the experience for the rest of this series. And here we go. We are going to see the defense already getting positioned. Oh, I'm sorry. The defense already pushed back. The offense already capturing that relay, and that is going to be Team Tekka Dynasty on that offense. So whatever they're doing, it's working.
Yeah, so they do actually have Nox swapping off on to that Gym Sniper. Arrow is back in once again for Profi, but he ends up going down. Now that is the RX-78. They still have a lot of tools to utilize here to try and slow things down, but they're not going to have that Hyper Hammer for the Suzabi duels. Looks like Asor will get healed up as Hawklight finds one more. That's Focus going down.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly how this all started, but this is looking to be one of those like death ball runs, which we've seen so many times here on this level, where you immediately take the relay, you immediately take the first bomb plant, and it's just, for the first time, it looks like Team Mafty is really on the back foot, not able to deal with this level of aggression. I mean, they're getting some picks here, which is really nice, but the positioning from Team Tekka Dynasty is looking really strong to be able to hold this.
Yeah, they are very close to the energy cable, but they end up losing out on Gasman. That's one more pick, too, as a robot ends up falling here. Mafty like to take their time to clear out their angles before they go for this, but here it is. Arrow coming back. He will ultimately go down. Nox picks up 2, but he should be going down in the face of David. He'll be able to body block while the defuse goes down. So Mafty keeps this one alive here on the first point. 69.6%. picked up by Tekka Dynasty, and they do maintain position over this waypoint. Gasman looking for the flank, but he has been spotted out.
Yeah, and Nox apparently did start off on this Gym Sniper, has the G maneuver, just popped it right now, so I'm assuming that this is going to be a switch off after this, but still just wanting to use that. It is a pretty powerful G maneuver, especially when you're sneaking around in this building here. Gasman going down, going to get the auto revive from the... Nope, actually gets closed out. The Meth's not able to get that quite. Looks like we're going to go for the plant from Nox, but gets clipped from behind. Focus in the air. Not an angle that you expect, and that was not a full plant.
Oh boy, they end up losing out on 3 more. So back to the drawing board for Tekka. They do have a few G maneuvers to utilize here, and it does look like Nox is actually staying on this Gym Sniper for now, but it's just that maybe one pick potential off that waypoint. He can still swap off if he wants to. Now they do have the energy cable, and that's going to be the only G maneuver available for them. Hawklight fortunately does not have that Screaming Nimbus. It's going to be David. He's got the funnels. They've got the Hades along with the energy cable for Mafty for this hold. And now there's only 1:30 left for Tekka.
Yeah, and Nox just sticking on the Gym Sniper, that's so surprising to me. I mean, you can get some shots down these hallways, but with the ability to play Exia, that just seems like a strange choice. That can be such a strong suit in this spot. It looks like a lot of this team. Okay, we're going to see some G maneuvers here. That was the punch coming out, and this is going to be every G maneuver popped on the side of Mafty, except for that Hades, which is just being built right now. They're really trying to clear this out for this, this 1 minute mark is going to be a completely empty team. A robot's like, wait a minute, I had a team here a minute ago, and now I don't. I'm going to run away. Forget this.
Yeah, this is just such an awkward state for a robot to be in. I wish he was on the Unicorn, actually, to get a little bit more value. This energy cable has gone largely unused for the last 3 minutes, and so he's been holding on to this one, getting nothing for his squad, unfortunately. And so now, who's his target? He does have the Hades, so it could be a Hades energy cable combo as Gasman tries to go in.
Yeah, it has to be that, and this has to be the moment that matters. The big question here is, can Dark Infestor safely get damage with this Hades, or will he get picked off immediately? There we go, double popped. This is going to have to be all down to Dark Infestor getting every single pick, but Enders is going to go down. The problem is Enders was so far away from the rest of the team, they're going to immediately push in for this plant. Casino's going to go down as well, just in time, but so many of the planters went down as the counter. There wasn't only 2 people down for 2 G maneuvers is maybe not enough. The plant didn't go down. So much of Team Tekka Dynasty is down, and only 10 seconds left.
And you can see why the approach that Mafty takes when it comes to a lot of these plants is to just make sure you clear out all the threats first. Casino just peeks around the corner, takes out the planter, and then just backs away. And so TK end up going down here without, only about 70%, I believe, picked up in overall progress at 69.6. And so the goal post is here. Can Mafty do this in 3 maps?
Oh, it's looking pretty good. This is very much a reminiscent round from the very first one of this set, where we saw a little bit more, about 84%, right, overall coming out on that first capture, on that first, explosion on the colony trading post. But the problem was then Mafty just made an amazing push in and was able to easily take just that amount of percent. This is going to have to be an incredible hold from the side of Tekka Dynasty. And you can tell that their first push was amazing, right? They just blew through the defensive side of Team Mafty. They pushed all the way through, got the relay, got the first plant within the first few seconds of the game, so much so that we actually almost missed it, but they just weren't able to hold on. And that's been the story so far of Mafty being able to recover better than any other team today, and that might be why they are going to be our champions in one more round if they can keep this up.
And take a look at the damage coming out for Mafty. Well, I said at the beginning, that Casino, definitely one of my highlights, one of my MVPs. Maybe Enders comes in, but Casino proves why, once again, in that last round, why he is one of my MVPs. Not only stopping that plant, but basically winning it at the end for the team, but also top damage for his squad. But here we go. We're going to see the Nox pickup of that Gym Sniper, but there's no sniper in response for Mafty.
Yeah, let's see if they end up needing it. We've seen the counter to the sniper without needing one on this map several times. We're going to immediately see the axe to move forward with the Sazabi. There's a lot of aerial mobility coming out of the side of Team Mafty, so they might just immediately push that top spot. They do, and in fact, the sniper is going to have to run back on the side of Nox. Already so much pressure on this relay.
Oh, Gasman does look like he's AFK. I wonder if he knows that the round has actually started. He's been spotted from behind, but his sword is going to be the first one to fall. Casino overextending just a little bit will end up going down. That's Hawklight picking up 2 for his squad, and he has been top damage on this Dom Trooper for his team, and it looks like enough picks have come across. A robot is able to pick up 1 more onto Devotion here, and even though the waypoint gets picked up, oh no, that might be enough for Mafty to actually reestablish themselves here on the waypoint.
I know every single time it looks like they're fighting from behind, they're not. I don't understand how they recover in every situation so well. They can play under pressure unbelievably well. It's the power of being an adult, being an older player. You've dealt with that before. You got to pay rent, but Gasman's going to need to recover. Got to wait a lot of time for this to respawn, and within that time, we might see the plant, although it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a battle just between the lanes here. Dark Infestor is up in a great position to be able to defend this. A lot of these members, though, pushing up onto B, and great explosions from Casino, not direct hits to be able to close out that kill there on Hawklight.
You can see, once again, Mafty are just crossing all their T's, dotting all their I's, although they do have a sword coming in to at least put a stop to it for just a second. Focus. Pros don't fake. He will get rezzed up, but now it's coming down to the defense. Can Tekka get here in time to stop the Mega Charge once again? They're trying their best to body block for it, and this Zabi might give his life for it. They do end up getting it down once again on points A. They've got the energy cable up. They've got Arrow with the Super Napalm to utilize as well. So many G maneuvers coming online for Mafty to close things out.
Yeah, this Super Napalm is going to be huge. I really want to see where it's thrown, and we can actually see the POV of Arrow right now. It might just get thrown on the point here. There's no line of sight to it, and a throw right here actually could prevent it for the rest of the game. It looks like it's not even going to be used quite yet. There it is, and it looks like it is going to go off a little bit more upstairs just to block a line of sight, but that punch might be the thing that closes this out. Only 2 players left. Can they get the defuse? They cannot, and Mafty will sweep the grand finals 3-0, going undefeated the entire tournament.
Oh man, and again, Mafty just show absolute dominance in their win, but not just dominance. It's a controlled way that they fight, and I love how they take a lot of these points, a lot of the objectives. The way that they approach all these maps has been so refreshing to see.
Yeah, they have absolutely earned that grand champion status here. They had, I think, one of the most dominant showings that we've seen throughout the entire day. And this isn't just a dominant showing of, you know, like we're just doing well as one solid team against other teams that are still trying to kind of figure out everything they're doing. Like, these teams have been really strong. IQ was extremely strong. Team Tekka Dynasty was really strong. Even Bozo's was really strong. And none of those teams could win a game, a single game against Team Mafty, and they showed why they did so well in that previous official Gun Evo tournament. They are for sure the team to beat right now. Their synergy just seems unmatched. You know, I've seen some of those players be talking in chat while the games are happening, and they just seem so chill. They just seem like they're having a good time. I always said, you know, before, I was a huge fan of watching the Powerpuff Girls as a team, and they are still, you know, as half of this team, they're still one of my favorites to watch because every single member on their team is just so strong and so entertaining and just such a pro